Burns can also be classified based on the extent of injury, right? And it's similar to the first, second, and then the third degree burns. With the extent of injury is classified as superficial, partial thickness, and then full thickness burns. The superficial thickness is the type that affects only the epidermis, so it's just like the first degree burns. Whilst the partial thickness affects both the epidermis, or it involves the epidermis and the dermis, right? So it's similar to the second degree burn. Whilst the last extent of classification is the full thickness, right? So full thickness is fourth and then third degree burns, where sometimes the subcutaneous, the muscles, and even the bones are being exposed, right? So these are the extent of classification based on the extent of the injury. Let's look at the total body surface area involvement. Total body surface area. Let's pause as I draw on the board. Total body. We were talking about the total body surface area. So we want to know the percentage of burns. So it's our responsibilities our responsibility of nurses and then as doctors to assess the percentage of the burnt area when the patient is rushed to the hospital with burns, right? So we have to look at how we can assess the percentage of the burnt area. We have one that we term as the rule of 9. That was the one who propounded it is termed as Wallace. So we term it as the Wallace rule of 9. Wallace rule of 9. So we are going to look at how we can calculate the percentage of the total body surface area using the Wallace rule of 9. So we are looking at the percentage for adults, an adult, right? So an adult, the head is 9%, the rule, the head, because the rule of 9, it means that if you look at it critically, it means that we calculate it in nines, right? So as we move on, you know what I'm talking about. So the first one is the head, and the head of an adult is 9%. So it means that the face together with the posterior part is 9, and the neck, right? So all together is 9. So sometimes a patient might be rushed to the hospital with only the face involved in the burn. So it means that you have to calculate and subtract. So if only the face is not the whole head, like if the whole head is 9, then you can make your subtractions and then you can give like 4.5% if only the face is involved. And if only the posterior part is involved, then you can also give 4.5. So in addition, will be 9%. Okay, let's come to the chest of the individual, the chest of the individual. So we are talking about an adult, right? So with an adult, the chest alone of the person is 9%, and then the abdomen is 9%, right? So if only the chest is involved in the burns, right, or only the chest area is burnt, then we give a percentage of 9. And if the abdomen is burnt, we give a percentage of 9. So it means that the anterior trunk, right? So when we talk about the anterior trunk, is the abdomen and the chest together, all will be 18%. Right, so the anterior trunk is 18%. So it means that sometimes somebody will come with only the chest involved in the burns. So it means that you can do your calculations and then subtract and give 9%, and then the abdomen being 9%. So the anterior trunk is 18%. And then behind the trunk is also 18%. So the patient will have 18% behind. So that is from the neck region to the lower, the sacral region, right? So the neck region to the sacral region, the total is 18%. So it means that if only the posterior chest is involved in the veins, then you can give 9%, and then the abdomen, the posterior part of the abdomen, which is the lumbar area, you can give 9%. So both the posterior part of the chest and then the abdomen will form 18%. 18%. Okay, let's move to the arm. The arm of the person is 9%. So the left arm is 9%. The right arm is also 9%. The left arm is 9%. The right arm is 9%. When you come to the legs, the whole leg is supposed to be 18%. The whole leg, 18%. So it means that the anterior part of the leg alone, when we do our subtractions, can be 9%, whilst the posterior part can be 9%. So the posterior and anterior part together can be 18%. Or if only the upper parts, starting from the thighs, right, to the knee, we can give 9% for that. And then from the knee to the toes, you can also give 9% for that. But the whole leg, if the whole leg is involved in the veins, then you can give 18%. So if we try to do our additions, the head, which is 9%, right, so head plus neck, which is 9%, plus the anterior trunk, which is 18%, plus the posterior trunk, which is also 18%. So the posterior, which is also 18%, plus the arm, each arm is 9, so both arms are 18%. And then the legs, right? So each leg is 18, so both legs will be 36, right? So both legs is 36%. So if you add in all, you are going to get 99%. So where is the other 1%? There's another method known as the Palmer method. The Palmer method is calculated by, so it's assumed that the palm is 1%, right? So the Palmer method, the 1%, the genital can cover about 1%. So the genital or the perineal region of the individual is given as 1%. So that is the additional 1% to make it 100%. So the rule of 9, the percentage is 100%. So you have to, as a nurse or as a doctor, you have to calculate the percentage of the burnt area so that you know the degree of burns. And it's assumed that total body surface area more than 30% is classified as a major burns. And if the burns is classified as a major burns, then it means that you have to manage the patient is in a critical condition, so you have to manage the patient well to prevent other complications, right? So this is how the total body surface area is calculated, right? And it should be calculated when a patient is brought to the hospital. So it will even help you to know the amount of fluid to be given within the 24 hours. Right, the first 24 hours, the first 8 hours, and then the other 12 hours that follows. Right, so as a nurse, it depends on where the person was involved in the burns. Right, so sometimes you are working outside the hospital and then you encounter a patient who is involved in a burn. So you have to manage the patient. You have to give a first aid management before the patient is being rushed to the hospital. So your first thing is to make sure the person is taken away from the danger, or if possible, the danger can be taken away from the patient. Right? And then secondly, you have to make sure the burn is stopped. Right? So you stop the burns. Right? And then apart from that, you also have to call the emergency line so that the ambulance can come as you are managing the patient. And then as nurses and doctors, if you encounter any patient who is seriously injured outside the hospital, it's our duty to attend to the patient. And then if you touch the patient, then it means that you have a duty owed to the patient. So if anything goes wrong, it means that you will be answerable to it. So you have to manage the patient properly outside the hospital. And then you don't stop the care when help has not come. So when ambulance has not returned, the moment you started giving the care, you have to stay by the patient till the ambulance comes. So you have to also, when necessary, if there are tight clothing, you can also loosen the tight clothing so that the patient does not become suffocated. And then apart from that, if there are jewelries, in case of burns, sometimes there is edema formation. So if the patient is on any jewelries, when edema is formed, it becomes difficult for jewelries to be removed. So you have to quickly remove jewelries when they are present before edema sets in. And then you have to also check whether the pulse is present and also whether patient is breathing. If pulse is absent and then patient is not breathing, then it means that you have to start your CPR, your chest compression, and then mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and to help to resuscitate the patient. And you have to also assess the airway to ensure that nothing is blocking the airway. And people who are involved in burns outside the hospital, they are not supposed to be giving anything by mouth, right? And then they have to make sure people does not gather around the patient, and then keep reassuring the patient till help comes. When patient is taken to the hospital, as nurses, you have to receive the patient into a bed, and then we reassure the patient. So we have to assure the patient that we are going to do everything possible within our power to help him to recover. And then apart from that, as nurses, we have to also check the vital signs of the patient, because we said that there's a possibility that the patient can go into shock. So especially the BP, we have to check the BP, the temperature, we have to check the pulse and the respiration of the patient. We also have to check the SpO2. When necessary, we can administer oxygen. And then we just talked about how to calculate the percentage of burns. So if you have to also calculate the percentage of burns so that you know the amount of fluid that we can give to the patient. And then we have to also set a line, secure a line, and then whenever a line is secured, it means that sample has to be taken to the lab to check the WBC, the FBC. And then once a line is secured, we administer prescribed fluids. It will depend, the kind of fluid to give will depend on the vital signs. So if the BP is low, then it means that prescribed normal saline will be given. And if the RBS is low, the person is going into hypoglycemia, then dextrose normal saline can be given. So the fluid will depend on the vital signs of the patient. If there are tight clothing or jewelries, you have to remove it. And if the burns have not stopped before the patient was brought to the hospital, then it means that we have to irrigate the area with water to help, depending on what is causing the burns to help stop the burns. And then we have to also treat the wound aseptically. So we have to dress the wound well. If there are blisters, most of the time it's advisable not to break blisters outside the hospital. But you can't also apply dressing on the blister because it's a foreign body which will prevent it from healing. So as you are giving fluids, then the blisters can be broken so that you can apply dressing to the site. And then if there is any edema of the extremities of the bent area, that part should be elevated on pillows to promote venous return and then to prevent or to reduce the edema. And then depending on the severity of the burns, nothing should be given by mouth within the 24 hours, the first 24 hours. And then if the burns is a major burns, then it means that you can check the vital signs, or you can check it every 30 minutes, and then you can move to 1 hour, hourly, 2 hourly, and then the normal 4 hourly vital signs check. And you have to monitor the patient on intake and output chart. On intake and output chart. Right? So whatever fluids you are giving is documented on the intake part, and whatever comes out. So most of the time, people with severe burns will be on catheter so that you can monitor the fluid that is coming out. And then apart from that, you have to also calculate the amount of fluid that should be given, and you do that by using Packland formula. The Packland formula. So with the Packland formula is given by 4 mils multiplied by the weight of the patient in kilogram multiplied by the total body surface area. So if the weight of the patient, let's assume that the weight is 60 kilograms, and then the percentage of burns, let's assume that is 70, then it means that you have to multiply 4 by 60 by 70. 4 by 60 by 4 by 60 by 70. Right, so 4 by 60 by 70 will give 4 times 60. 60 times 4 times 70 will give how many mils? So it will give 16800 mils. Right? So this is the amount of mils that should be given within 24 hours. So you divide this by 2. So divide this by 2. If you divide this by 2, the amount that you get should, half of it should be given within the first 8 hours. Right? So half of it, which is 8400. 8400 mils is given within the first 8 hours. Then the rest is given within the 24 hours. Right, so this is the Packland formula you use to calculate the amount of fluid that should be given to a patient who is involved in burns. Right, and depending on how severe the burns is, sometimes NG tube might even be passed, depending on catheter might also be passed depending on the severity of burns. And then, as I have said, you have to monitor the weight so that you can use to calculate the amount of fluid that should be administered. And then, because the burns area can become infected, you have to maintain aseptic technique of the burnt area. Right? So you have to dress it using aseptic technique so that it doesn't become infected. And if possible, and you have a bed cradle, it can be used to raise the top bed proof, right? So you use the bed cradle to raise the top sheets so that it doesn't come in contact with the burnt area. That can cause more pains. And then as nurses, we should wash our hands before and after taking care of this patient. And then prescribed analgesics should also be administered, as well as prescribed antibiotics, right? The analgesics will help to reduce the pain, and then the antibiotics will also help to prevent infection, right? So depending, as I've said, sometimes patients will be suctioned, patients will be given oxygen, we give IV fluids to replace the fluid that is lost, so that patient does not go into hypovolemic shock. And then, as I've said, prescribed lab investigations are also done. Depending on the stage of the burns or the degree of the burns, most of the time with 4-degree burns, some 4-degree and 10-degree burns, that is difficult to heal. Sometimes grafting is done where a skin is taken from the patient's own skin. So one part of the patient's own skin is harvested and is replaced to promote healing. Or sometimes the skin is taken from another patient's skin to replace the burnt area, so that it can heal and then prevent infection. So depending on the type of grafting, you can have what we call the autograft, the homograft, or the xenograft. Autograft is where the patient's own skin is harvested. So let's assume that we take the skin from a patient's thigh and then we put it at a part of the body that is being exposed, right, or where the burn occurred. And then the homograft or the allograft is where we take the skin from one individual and then we harvest it and then replace it on another person's skin. And then the last type, the xenograft, is where we take the skin from probably an animal and then we replace it on a human being skin, right? So that is also termed as a xenograft. So as nurses, it's our responsibility to manage the patient after grafting, so that the skin does not become infected, right? So there are some things that we have to check before the grafting and then after the grafting, right? So the donor's site, the donor is the person whom we are taking the healthy skin, and then the recipient is the one with the burns, right? So we harvest the healthy skin from the donor's site and then we replace it on the recipient side. So first we have to make sure that the donor's site is there's no infection. So there are no rashes, there are no wounds, there are no discharges, right? So the skin of the donor's site is healthy, right? And then again, the donor's site should have a good blood supply. So we have to make sure that there's a good blood supply to the donor's site before we harvest that site, right? Because we want it to heal. And then sometimes you have to check for some characteristics like color match, right? So we can't take a skin from someone who is fair and then we give it to someone who is dark, right? So we have to make sure the skin color is compatible, the hair distribution is also compatible, right? And then in the donor's side, there should be a good skin texture of the donor's side. And then we have to also prepare the donor's side by washing the side to get rid of bacteria and all that. And then the recipient side. The recipient side should also have a good blood supply. It means that if there are infections, there are debris, then it means that the surgeon or the physician should do debridement, right? So that there will not be any foreign body that will impair the healing. And then apart from that, you should assess the recipient side for any sign of infection, right? And then we also compare the color, the hair distribution, and all that for the donors and then the recipient side. A graft may be sutured, right? And after it is done, sometimes it's put on it. So as nurses, we have to make sure the grafted or the recipient side has not become infected after the skin has been grafted to the recipient side. Right? So we make sure patient does not touch the site, patient does not wet the dressing,